in a world awash in chaos.
What is Walking Phoenix?
Joaquin Phoenix? What is Joaquin Phoenix?
Or whatever you said.
It's a man.
Oh.
His name is Joaquin Phoenix. Okay. What the fuck?
Jupiter.
Uranus.
A group of brave heroes take on all things action.
Season 3!
Hi guys, welcome to another great edition of All Things Action Videocast. I'm Dad, aka Aaron, and with me this week is...
Layden, aka the bear.
And Mom, a.k.a. Fran.
Yes, we're doing a three-person videocast today with microphones, so we'll see how this goes. And right off the top, Fran, a.k.a. Mom, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, guys.
It's been a long time coming. She's a big fan of the show, and she usually routinely laughs at what Raiden has to say.
Yeah.
So that's good, right?
Yeah, it is good.
Yeah. So big point of business. Obviously, we didn't have one last week. Raiden, would you like to fill everybody in on what happened?
Well, you can see
snap.
from my arm is broken, so.
Yeah. Tell everybody how it happened.
Well, I was doing like a soccer training thing, and this facility had weighted nets, and my feet got all caught up in the net, and I tried to get out, but I fell, and I put my arm down, but I kind of rolled over it weird, so.
Yep.
Yep, saddest thing ever. And then you had surgery yesterday.
Yep.
And you came through it. You're pretty sore. But you were my champion.
Yeah. You did a good job. So if you want to, you can chime in anytime you want, but Mom's really here to kind of help because we know that this week is a little rough for you.
Yeah.
So, maybe Mom and Dad can kind of work on the show and you can kind of sit back and relax, and if you have anything to say, just grab a microphone and ask, okay?
Yeah, like if we have a certain topic that is like really interesting to me, I can just go like,
give me the
that.
microphone.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. So we're going to break format already in week number 2, and since Fran is here, I didn't want to go part by part like we said we were going to, because Fran just gets bogged down by some of the topics that we talk about. So,
Yeah.
and forgive me if I sound like I'm kind of sick because I feel like I'm getting something coming on. But so Fran, you enjoy action movies, you enjoy superheroes, all that stuff, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I thought since you are a girl, yes.
Last time I checked.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought we'd get a female perspective on some of the things that are going on right now in some of the movies. Itchy area, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and obviously, just get your feedback on the part of action movies and superhero movies and TV shows that rarely get talked about here on this show, which is the romance aspect, because every good story has a little bit of romance in it, right, Bear? Yep. So, Fran, obviously right now there's kind of the women's revolution in just about everything that's going on, whether it's wrestling, whether it's superhero movies, whether it's action genres, as far as TV shows and movies out there. What's kind of the most interesting part, or who is the most fascinating character out there right now that you can think of that that you've really enjoyed watching, or you're hoping that they do something with? whether it's Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, they've got all sorts of
Harley Quinn.
wrestlers out there. What do you think?
I think I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with Captain Marvel, that movie. I think probably the best so far that I think they've done is Wonder Woman. They didn't make her into, like she has the Amazonian background if you follow that pretty closely. But in the Wonder Woman, it was obviously they showed the whole origin story with her and that entire her planet and whatnot, but it wasn't like over the top, like, oh, we hate men. I think that's an important thing with the women being really sought in how are we moving towards them, is that it's not it's really empowering and not like, oh, we hate men, because I don't think that that's a good message either.
I think what you mean is it's a island covered in like a force field.
Yeah.
Miniskera.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I would say, it's funny that DC out of all the companies out there actually nailed the female lead first. And even in Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice, I thought that they did a really good job of introducing her in that movie and showing how powerful she is, because I think when they first talked about including Wonder Woman in that movie, everybody thought, oh, well, she'll be an ancillary character because she's not in the title. It's not Batman versus Superman versus Wonder Woman. And it turns out that she winds up being just as powerful as Superman, if not more powerful, just because she actually has some equipment that can provide a little more protection than, say, Superman does. And obviously we won't give away what happens in that movie. Hopefully everybody's seen it before. But I think that's cool. We still have yet to see Captain Marvel, so it sounds like Brie Larson did a really good job of taking care of that character. And it has a whole bunch of 90s references in the movie, so that should be fun to see, right, Bear?
Yep.
So, Fran, what about, obviously, like we talked about before, romance is a big part of the character development of comic books, of superhero movies, of TV shows. I think there's obviously an obvious choice, and Bear probably knows what it is too, but let's talk about in TV shows, superhero TV shows in general, what has been the best depiction of a romantic duo when it comes to on screen, on the small screen. You have like Oliver and Felicity on Arrow. You have Rick and Lori on The Walking Dead. Which one do you think?
None of those.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying. I'm trying not to give away your answer without.
I know the answer.
Do you know my answer?
Yeah, I know your answer. It's Superman and Lois.
Yes. So I'm an old lady. I'm a fan of the New Adventures of Superman, Lois and Clark, with Dean Cain and Terry Hatcher. I think that's probably the whole premise of it was really their relationship more so than just the Superman story. I mean, obviously he went off and saved the day every day, but definitely the show was predicated on those two getting together. It's 4 seasons of glorious, hilarious, and just, fun times and a couple smooches.
Yeah. And the only thing that really bonded it as a Superman show was the fact that it was Clark Kent and Lois Lane.
Entitled.
And he wore the suit.
Yep.
Character-wise, obviously, Lex Luthor was there, but he was loosely depicted, not really kind of as the antagonist. It seemed to me always that he was more of like the jealous ex-boyfriend of Lois Lane in that show. So it kind of hit all the right buttons. They did a really good job of finding a set of characters that had a good love story involved in it. And it hasn't really been replicated since then. You know, that's one thing is no matter how you crack it, there still hasn't been another show romantic comedy that has been just straight superhero. You know, they sprinkle it in every once in a while, like we said, Oliver and Felicity getting together, becoming a couple, but then there's always some sort of catch. There's always something there. With Lois and Clark, it never seemed like it was really a problem.
I mean, yeah, once the first season, obviously, it was the build up, and then after that, it kind of was more about them. I don't know. If you like kind of goofy 90s superhero romantic comedy, it's a good show. It's worth a watch.
And so what about on the big screen? What have you liked, romantic,
action movies?
Yeah, any action movies or any superhero movies that have really stood out as far as, the two?
I mean, I think from an action perspective, we just watched it this weekend, Creed 2. They definitely have, Creed has his lady friend.
Yeah.
That's a good story there. I won't give the entire thing away, but that's a good story. Definitely hits you in the feels. What do you think?
Creed 2 was a very good one because it kind of had that listening that me and Dad like in
boxing, but yeah.
Boxing, whatever. And it had romance that you like, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good story, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, it hit all the buttons. But as far as superheroes go, I think you'd have to go back into the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
With in my opinion, probably the greatest superhero movie ever, which was The Crow with Brandon Lee. The Crow is a heartbreaking story about lost love.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's another movie that you can kind of think of that.
There's nothing that I can think of that really depicts the heart-wrenching love story like The Crow. I mean, think that one from the beginning just really, really gets you.
Yeah.
And then as you watch it, you just kind of keep going with that moment.
I think Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy could have done that had, number one, you started out with the gal from Dawson's Creek, Katie Holmes. She was the original Rachel Dawes, and then Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think had they not had to do some sort of weird switch, you would have had more character and investment in the character. And then also Heath Ledger's death. Nobody knows exactly what would have happened had Heath Ledger been around and the Joker would have stuck around. It probably would have caused a little more of an impactful meaning to Rachel Dawes' death in that movie for Bruce Wayne. So, that one too is one of those that kind of stands out to me as far as a good love romance arc that never quite took off. I thought the other thing too, which if you read like Batman Hush, one of the big storylines there was the whole love story between Batman and Catwoman, and so we got to kind of see that laid out at the end. Raiden's blowing on his cast at the end of The Dark Knight Rises, where obviously I won't give away the end, but we get to see Bruce Wayne finally kind of find love and settle down. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I think that there's always a good aspect to romance. I know there's some people that say, there shouldn't be this much romance in an action film, but really, without love and without loss of love, it's kind of mundane when it comes to an action.
Right.
I mean, everything's predicated on that.
Well, do you just want to have things blow up? Then yeah, go to the show that there's no storyline and they just have a lot of pyro, and that's awesome. But I mean, when you're trying to sell tickets, right, you want to get your female and your male audience in there. You want to get it to be a, date night kind of movie. And I mean, you're a guy, even with that, like you fell in love, you got married, you had kids, like there's that connection, and that's part of life. And if you don't have, that trigger to pull on the heartstrings, then,
it's inherent.
Well, and you have no depth to your story without that.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, it's in everything. John Wick. It's itchy. Yeah.
It's itchy.
Yeah.
Well, let's have you talk a little bit so you can take your mind off of it.
John Wick, obviously, that whole movie is predicated on the loss of a significant part of his life, and it kind of just takes him to a dark place again, and kind of gets him into the mentality. So without loss, there's no good reason to go and blow up a place. Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger, way back when.
Yeah.
His daughter gets kidnapped, and so he decides to just take out this small faction of bad guys just to get her back. RoboCop, we love RoboCop, right?
Yeah.
That's a heartbreaking story, right?
Yeah, because many weird and sad stuff happens in RoboCop.
Yeah. There's a lot of loss there, isn't there?
Yeah.
Loss of family, loss of personal
Stuff.
just loss of person, really. So
Yeah.
that's very cool, right?
Yep.
Cool. So Fran, we can tell that Raiden's kind of fading here fast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, if I'm interested, because you obviously watch a lot of, romantic comedies, romantic stories, and there seem to be a handful of female and male actors who are typically in these movies. I not a lot that I can rattle off, but Ryan Reynolds comes to mind, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Your Ryan is probably also Gosling.
Ryan Gosling, yep. So, and there's a handful of other ones. Females, I'm not too,
Rachel McAdams.
Yeah.
Amy Adams.
Meghan Merkel, or whatever her name is. Which
She was
she's probably
in some.
She's probably going
done.
to be out for a while, probably like forever. But I'm curious.
It's because she found her own Prince Charming.
Yeah, exactly. Knowing that these actors can, Raiden, just stand up and walk around a little bit. I know, stand up and walk around a little bit. It's okay. It itches. I know. Just stand up and walk around. Some movement will help, okay? It's okay. There goes Raiden. He's going to walk around for a little bit. Anyway, so knowing that these characters can translate into the big movies, and I'd like to know who you feel would be a good actor who could transition into a superhero that hasn't been one yet. Obviously, Ryan Reynolds, he's been multiple ones.
Right.
There's a handful of other ones. Who do you think would be a really good actor that kind of transition? And whoever it is, I want to know, who do you think they could play?
Oh, wow. I could... Probably should have had this one beforehand. Let's see.
Well, you can do a handful of them too. That's okay.
I don't know. I mean, because there's so many of them that really have had a part in something. I mean, one of the people that I was thinking of was James Marsden, but he's been in X-Men.
But he should be one that gets another crack at something.
That's something else.
Yeah. He played an awesome Cyclops. He did. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't just dip back into that bucket, because they actually cast him really well to begin with. And James Marsden was in Straw Dogs that I just got done watching, which is a crazy show. But back to the question at hand. So besides him, who would you think? And even if they've been one before, it's okay. So like, I'll give you mine real quick. Mine would be Scott Eastwood.
Oh yeah,
Scott Eastwood
he's great to look at.
Was cast in Suicide Squad, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's gonna play a huge role,"
and he didn't.
He wound up being a bit player in that movie, and they wound up killing him, which means technically he still has all sorts of places he could go. He, to me, if I were the casting guy for Marvel, and I knew that I was going to get X-Men, he would be my Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
And here's another wrinkle to it is if they needed to do a Days of Futures Past kind of scenario where they go into the future,
Daddy.
just get Clint Eastwood to be Old Man Logan, because I would dare to say that that there's artists out there that actually used an old Clint Eastwood as their inspiration for that. So, Eastwood would be definitely my choice, and it would be for Wolverine.
I could totally see that. And yeah, I mean, when you say using Clint Eastwood as the future, that's absolutely correct. Because if you take any of Clint Eastwood's, go back to his younger years, it's, they look like twins. It's uncanny how much they look alike. And I mean, obviously there's that father-son connection. You guys look alike, but I would bear to say that is just even more uncanny than the two of you. Yeah, I still am kind of just in huge thought. I don't know. I really don't. I mean, sometimes I think, and I'll probably get a lot of backlash for this, is Jamie Dornan, who is in most people who know his name know him from 50 Shades. I mean, with you guys talk about it a lot with Henry Cavill moving on to do anything else that he has on his plate because he's a very busy man. Jamie Dornan, from what it sounds like, is as well, but I could see him maybe stepping in as Superman, and I wouldn't mind that.
I think so too, and I think when people hear 50 Shades of Grey, they kind of roll their eyes and say, "Oh, that guy."
Oh my God, they'll look at him in The Fall. I
was gonna say, explain The Fall.
So The Fall, he plays Paul Spector, and he's basically just on the surface, he's a therapist, he's just a family guy, he's got a wife and a couple of kids, and his alter ego is that he is a serial killer. So he kills women, and he kind of positions them in a way that is less than desirable for their family to see in the aftermath of their death. But Gillian Anderson plays the detective that's basically seeking him out, and he's just a phenomenal actor. I mean, a lot of people roll their eyes with 50 Shades, I know that, but I mean, he has so much depth in that character, and that's actually why I like him as truly The Fall. He's one of those characters, he plays the part so well that you want to like him. You want to like him as Paul Spector, and you want to almost root for him, and then he does these terrible things, and you're just emotionally you're kind of at odds with yourself because
you're pulled back in.
Yeah, because he's just so endearing, so charismatic, and I think that's obviously part of the reason that serial killers are so scary, right? So I mean, I think he would do great as a Superman. I think that might also level set some of his acting if he was to do another big time thing that wasn't just, roll your eyes, 50 Shades.
Well, and he seems like the kind of guy who would be he'd be eager to do the role. He would put in the time and the work to do it as well. I know Henry got big for it. I think Jamie Dornan's stature could hold a lot of mass, and look like a superhero too. So
yeah, I mean, he definitely isn't hurting in his physique.
No, and women, and again, like you said earlier, you want to have both sides of the audience. So a Jamie Dornan would be a smart move to bring in, just for the female perspective of the Christian Grey's going to be Superman now. Okay, I'll go see this movie. So I mean, it makes sense to me. That's a good pick, and I could definitely see him do that. I always thought that if you had Cavill still doing it, you could bring him in as Bizarro because they look very similar.
Yeah, I see what you're
but they're
saying.
different. So it would be interesting to kind of see, or you could bring Cavill in and make Cavill be Bizarro. You know, it'd be kind of interesting to see. But either way, I love it. It's fun to talk to Mom, isn't it, Bear?
Yep.
So hopefully the next time we have Mom on, Raiden's feeling a little bit more energetic. Maybe we'll figure out this this microphone situation so all of us can talk at one time. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's feeling it today, folks. He's only a couple days away from being out of surgery. He's a trooper, though. He's
Not a surgery.
yeah, you just had surgery.
2 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, on Friday.
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty impressive. He's a super strong kid. You talk about superhero strength. The kid hasn't asked for anything besides Tylenol since we've been out of surgery, and
Well, once, but
yeah, one time in the last like 48 hours. That's pretty impressive, dude.
48.
Yeah, 2 days.
Understanding math. It's okay, buddy. So we're very proud of him. He's been a trooper through this whole thing. He's gonna get better, and probably the next time you see his cast, he'll have a whole bunch of signatures on there. So every
Yeah.
week it'll just be more and more and more, won't there?
Well, I think next time you will see like 2 more, and then the next time you will see a whole bunch of names you aren't familiar with, but those are the people who I go to school with and my friends and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. You are definitely a strong guy. He broke his arm and even tried to go back into the training and play some more. So
Yep.
if that isn't one kiddo that's a big tough guy, I don't know who is.
That's right. So, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. Fran, I'm glad you were able to come on and talk to us a little bit about romance and superheroes. Thank you guys for watching. And Raiden, thank you for just sitting in and hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right, guys, for Raiden, I am Dad, a.k.a. Aaron. And with us this week was...
Fran, aka Mom.
Guys, we will see you next week with a brand new All Things Action video cast. Remember to go to Facebook and like our Facebook page. And if you have any feedback for us, please let us know. I know that YouTube is going to start doing some wacky stuff because we do have a minor on the show. They're talking about phasing out comments with any shows that have minors on them. I am fine with that. You can always drop us a line at the Facebook page, All Things Action Videocast, and let us know how things are going there. And we're going to have some more guests coming on here in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to line those up, but we are excited to get back to business as usual. Like I said 2 weeks ago when we first started, we are back on track now, barring any kind of craziness with the kids. So, guys, thank you so much for watching this week, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.